The following program is sponsored by YABA TV.
Welcome to our beautiful show, the YABA TV show. My name is Yesia, your host. Our topic today is focused on Ethiopia. And I must tell you, our show is a little different today, but I'd like for you to relax, get yourself comfortable, and just see what the other side of the world is going through outside the United States and see exactly what the Ethiopians are going through. It's all about genocide, sexual molestations, abusing of the elderly, the youngsters, the children, hunger, famine, so much more going on in Ethiopia today. But we'll get to find out when we talk to our guest on today's show, Enoch Waldu. It will tell us all about what you need to know. Maybe you or someone you know can help with this crisis going on in Ethiopia today. So tell your friends that the YABA TV show is on today with a very special series on Ethiopia. You don't want to miss this, just in case if you're a humanitarian person or you feel like you want to just help by writing a letter. All of that is welcome on today's show. We need to take a quick break to acknowledge our sponsors. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back to our beautiful show, the YABA TV show. My name is Yesia, your host. Our show is a little different today. We're talking about focus on Ethiopia, and there's so much going on in Ethiopia today. You or someone you know, if you watch this show today, you can attest to it that there is definitely a need for help in Ethiopia. We are talking to Enoch Waldu, and he knows much more about Ethiopia than I do, and he will tell us a little bit more about that. But first, let me welcome Enoch. Welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Enoch, like you said. I came to the U.S. From Ethiopia, from the Tigray region of Ethiopia, early 2000. Mm-hmm. I've been here for over 20 years. I grew up here, went to school here, went to college at UC Berkeley, and then went on to UCSF. So I've been here for quite some time now. Proud, happy to be here in the U.S., but at the same time, always miss back home. Mm-hmm. So it's always tough times when you hear things that are not going in the right direction and where you come from and your loved ones that you miss. So it's tough times today. And thank you for having me here to discuss this with you and with your audience.
Absolutely. So what were your thoughts about the U.S. when you first arrived, and how long did it take you to go back to visit your family?
Yes, so when I first came to the U.S., it's basically like a different world. A lot of things. We come from a little bit less resourced country, and when you come here, everything's available. Everything is big, everything is clean, and, mm-hmm. and lots of cars, lots of people, and so on and so forth. So it was great when I first came in. I was just like in a world of opportunities. And then I went back for the first time after living here for about 6 years. And when I went back 6 years later, also my country was different. It has grown so much. People were different, a little bit more better than when I left it. So it was always, when you see improvement, you're happy to see improvement. You're happy to see people change a little bit. So mm-hmm. I went back after the first 6 years that I've lived in here. So,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So from my understanding, there's mm-hmm. war going on in Tigray. That's sad.
Very sad.
But let's talk about it.
Yes, so today there's a genocide going on in Tigray. Tigray is the northern part of Ethiopia. To the northern Tigray is Eritrea, to the west is Sudan, to the south is Amhara region, which is another state of Ethiopia, mm-hmm. and then to the east is another region called Afar region. So Tigray is sandwiched by these regions, and war was declared on Tigray on November 4th, which is election day in the U.S. It was particularly picked to start this war so that no one would pay attention. At the same time that the war was declared, there was a state of emergency declared for 6 months. 6 months of no electricity, no lighting, no food, no water, no entrance of different things. The economy was destroyed. No entry or exit from Tigray. So when this happened, it devastated us. And no one knew about it because everyone was closed off. No journalists were allowed to come to Tigray to record and tell the world. So independent media were not able to come in. Tigray was closed off and completely destroyed. And now we have a genocide going on in Tigray region, Ethiopia.
Sad.
Very, very sad.
So what is the international communities doing about this?
So the international community, the U.S. has been very active. The European Union have been very active. The United Kingdom has also been active in calling it as it is, calling the atrocities, calling the sexual violence, calling the famine, calling the massacres that are going on, the extrajudicial killings that are going on, the door-to-door hunting of young men and women. And so it's been devastating news to hear from all of these places, and still not much is done to stop it. Still, we have invading forces in the land committing crimes, atrocities. Still, we have people from invading forces that are blocking aid to people who need aid. We have just tremendous humanitarian crisis that the world seems to still not do something about it, although they're reporting that these are happening. So it's still devastating, but not much is done from the standpoint of action. Still, there's talk.
And this has been since April?
Since November 4th, 2020. So it's been 8 months almost.
8 months.
Mm-hmm.
Even after 8 months, nothing is happening?
No action has been taken to stop this. And so today, we're hoping that the sexual violence, the massacres, the extrajudicial killings, the famine. It was reported last week that there are 350,000 people facing famine. And there are 1.8 million people who are near famine. And if we don't get anything in terms of food and aid to these people, we have currently recorded 5.2 million out of the total population, which is around 6 million, in dire need of food and assistance, shelter. We have millions of people displaced from their home. Millions of people fighting for their lives every single day. Millions of people who are in dire need of our assistance. And that's what is so sad and so daunting in this day and age.
It's very sad, and I'm sure some of our viewers are already saying this is a different type of presentation today, and it is. We are Africans. Such things do happen in Africa, and we have to address it. So, but we need to take a quick break to acknowledge our sponsors because they make this show possible. When we come back, we will continue with our discussion. Don't go away. You are back with our lovely show, the YABA TV show. My name is Sia, your host. Our show is a little different today. We're talking about how serious the atrocities in Ethiopia is. Today, as a matter of fact, it's still going on. Enoch is here with us, and he has more to say. Enoch, let's talk about the atrocities. What's going on?
So since November, a lot of things have transpired. A lot of human rights violations, a lot of indiscriminate shelling of public-private property, churches, mosques, monasteries have been destroyed and looted. Health centers, over 80% of our hospitals and clinics are destroyed, and the rest are being utilized just slightly by people who are injured from the military, as well as people who are completely in deathbed. So at this time, the health system is completely destroyed. Ambulance, almost 100% of the ambulances are gone. We're using anything that you can to be able to carry people from one place to another place to help them. Just this past week, there was a bombing in the market where people buy and sell for food and so on and so forth. Many civilians that have nothing to do with any military action were bombed. Many were hurt and injured to the point of death. Many died. Many that need critical aid and critical medical attention were being taken by vehicles. Those vehicles were stopped. They were stopped by forces and blocked from going to get help. It took so many hours, so many precious hours to get these people aid and get them to the nearest facility to get help. So the atrocities, the health facility, lack of health facility, lack of attention, lack of food aid, the tremendous amount of massacre that has happened over the past 8 months. It's been recorded by the Amnesty International, the massacre in Aksum, the massacre in Mariam Dengalat. The massacres are documented, well documented by CNN, BBC, you name it. You just Google Tigray genocide, you will find a lot of information on any Google site. So there are so many human rights violations and so many humanitarian crises that have been going on that the world has not been exposed to. And it's just sad that as of last week, this bombing happened. The European Union made a statement about it. The US has made a statement about it. Again, still, we have not seen action to stop this activity today.
You know, the thing that really touches my heart, that bothers me, is the children and the elderly people. What kind of help do they have?
The children have absolutely no help. A lot of our famine is actually affecting the children. The malnutrition in children is greater. It is very sickening. In 2021, we see children go hungry because of fighting. Useless, senseless fighting.
What really triggered that fight? What's the reason for this fight?
It's the reason for fight could be solved sitting down on a table and talking. But there's tremendous amount of hate for generations that have been building up against the people from the north.
Is it over land or over what?
Nope. It's just a difference in political ideology. Nothing more, nothing less. So this particular piece of land is historically significant from the religious context as well as from historical context of Ethiopia. It is the nucleus. Therefore, in order for you to grab on to these people, you have to wipe out anything and anyone that can defend. Recently, the Finnish foreign minister was sent by the EU, European Union, twice during this past 8 months. In February, when he was sent and talked to the federal government of Ethiopia and representatives, they told him they're going to wipe out the Tigrayans for 100 years. This is a quote that he said about a week plus ago. So that is what you're seeing today, and that's why it's a genocide going on. It is to wipe out a group of people to take over the history and the foundation of this country as yours. Although we are supposed to be one country, one people. So this ethnic cleansing, genocide that's been going on for the past 8 months, that has been ignored by many people throughout the world, needs to end. And we collectively as people can see the damage that's going on to girls, women, the young, the elderly, the things that are keeping people alive and going as an economy. Everything is destroyed. So we can do something about it collectively. And that's why we're here today, to talk to your audience, to everyone else, to inform, for people to go and look for themselves, research for themselves, and understand what's going on, and be the change that this world needs to see.
Well, the one thing that I commend you as a young man, you decided that this is something that it's like you grab the bull by the horn. Say, I and the group of other people need to come together to help our people.
Therefore, I must help people breathe. I must help people feel secure. I must help people find the next meal. I must help people find the next job so that they can sustain life, and hopefully, eventually, either them or their children will have the opportunities that I have one day and be able to live life. Yes. And that's the reason why I do this amongst many young folks like myself who are very active in trying to end the suffering for our mothers and our sisters here as well as back home. But we are suffering here equally. We are in serious distress, and many of us are a product of wars and how we end up here. I myself came during a time period where Eritrea and Ethiopia were at war. And this is devastating for it to repeat over a period of time, 20, 30 years.
Look at the camera and tell our viewing audience, how can they help?
Definitely. So one of our biggest sort of sites, an active site that will always document what's going on regularly and updated, most accurate, most reliable source is Omna. And you can go ahead and find us at omnatigray.org. That's OMNATIGRY.org. And if you Google us, you'll find us right away. You can find us on Instagram at Omna Tigray. You can also find us on Twitter. We have a Twitter campaign going on. We always have activities going on to inform the world, and you can always find the latest information on our website. And we hope that you take the opportunity, just 1 minute, 2 minutes of your day to just Google what's going on. And we hope that you share it with your family, friends, and many that can change and give an opportunity for the child that is hungry is looking for you to help.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Well, we sure do hope that you've been informed. I'm really, I have to say, as an African woman, talking to another African, I'm deeply touched, and I'm hoping that our audience watching the show, you take the time to do something. Write a letter, if nothing else, to your congresswoman, congressman, and let's all put our forces together to end this genocide in Ethiopia currently going on. It's crazy, super crazy. But we do want to thank Enoch for bringing this to the attention of the community, and we do hope that people will respond, and we do hope that there'll be a stop to this craziness.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for having us, for having me here to talk and to share what's going on. It means a lot to us, and thank you so much for you being part of the change that we're trying to create and alleviate the pain and suffering of our people. So I thank you so much, from an African brother to an African sister and an African mother. So thank you so much as well, and I appreciate it.
You're welcome. We need to take another quick break to acknowledge our sponsors, because without them, we don't have a show. We'll be back in a moment. We have come to the end of another wonderful show. Our show is always wonderful, whether it's an information we are sharing with you or whether it's a serious show like what we had today, but we bring Africa to you based on first-hand knowledge. If you'd like to help them, go to their website, and we suggest also that you take a time to write to your congresswoman or congressman to help. The more voices can show up in this, the better the opportunity to help will show up as well. Well, we do want to thank you again for taking the time to watch our show. We are on every Sunday at 2 p.m. on Channel 13 KCOP. We'd like for you to go to our YouTube channel, YABA Media, and watch past shows. While you're there, click on subscribe, share, like, and subscribe. That's the only way we know that you're watching our show and you're liking what we're doing and you're supporting us as well. We do want to thank you again for taking the time to watch our show. We will see you next week at the same time on the YABA TV show, your contemporary bridge to the true Africa.
The previous program was sponsored by YABA TV.